So we'll start. So good morning, and it's good to be in this august company, and with all the experts. I mean, all that I would like to talk today about is generally about the technology trends and some bit of testing experience from our perspective. And the systems that are being used in India are complex in the sense of what was being talked in the keynote today about real-time clearing and risk management, client margining. All those things, sir, are equally there applicable to us. We have had the same model which is there on the Moscow Stock Exchange, but due to the trading lags and the latency issues, we've had to actually give it up because the traders don't want any latency. So this is just a brief about, so we are all into everything. We have a clearing corporation, we have the exchange, we have an IT company called the Marketplace Technologies, we have a training institute, we have a depository. So in the sense, there are two different exchanges, and both of us literally have our own ecosystems, which comprises various organizations. And we have some small stake in other exchanges as well. We have a joint venture with S&P, which is for the index as well. And we have something very interesting, which is called the CSR exchange. I don't think I have the time to talk about that today, but we also encourage CSR activities for corporates. So we provide a response as an exchange from, I'll just talk about some of the milestones. We provide a response time at 6 micros. I mean, that's the latency we are talking about in terms of trading, in terms of high frequency trading. We moved to the Deutsche Börse T7 platform 1.5 years back, and we implemented it within 6 months. So that's the speed, and this platform incidentally is a platform which is used by Deutsche Börse on the commodities side. We customized it to equities, and since we are partners with Deutsche Börse, we are also talking to them now. Now they are planning to implement their equity, and hopefully they'll take our help. Colocation, HFT, we also have PTP synchronization using Mainberg. Our capacity is 500,000 orders per second. Although we don't hit that, we hit only around 10% of that. And the network latency, the figures that we are talking about is 100 micro, end to end. So with those, in that kind of an environment where high speed is very important, our main focus has been that, and we are looking at all the possible trends, and some of the trends that is what I have listed down here. I've purposely not listed down things like robotics and neural networks, etc., because I mean they're still at, there's a lot of research going on. This is more, we are talking today about implementable as well as some of the initiatives that we have been part of already. So from, social media, I mean clearly a lot of trading is taking place. People are talking about Facebook, trading via Facebook. People are talking about trading via various social media, social apps. So there is a lot of activity which is happening, and this is certainly one of the future aspects, especially with the younger generation, millennial generation. So this is one of the areas we are certainly looking at. Mobile-based rich apps, primarily because I mean our mobile is replacing the computer, and because of the high capacity of mobile phones, we do provide trading via mobile phones in India, and so it is the obvious. FPGA, primarily the reason why we went and we tried to test on this particular aspect was because I mean if you see the latency speeds that we are talking about, a 6 micro first response acknowledgement, we realized that you can only flog the application this much. So how do you do more than what the application can do? So essentially then the choice is to move to the FPGA with various components. I mean things like the matcher or things. I mean if I were to break down trading applications into some a very elementary mechanism. It's just the gateway and the matcher. Now, if I were to move these to FPGA, can it help me? I mean, those are the, and we've tested it out. There is significant performance that we gain out of that. But then, we are also looking at additional stuff, because it cannot be that we realize that we'll have to move multiple processes onto FPGA, which will also result in some lags. Then how do you achieve the best possible model? So things like 100G connectivity, InfiniBand, these are important. We are also exploring that. And since, the protocols are available now, standards are available now, this is also important from our perspective. I think the order-wise, I'll first take this point of infrastructure consolidation. So with FPGA, we are also looking at, can we run the exchange out of one box? With a single box, you actually remove all the possible latency factors, which is the wires, the different processors, and there are organizations available which are ready to help support that. So that's the kind of work that we are looking at. Cloud, we have assessed, so we are assessing cloud as well, and while we have moved certain applications to the cloud, trading applications on the cloud is, given the current security protocols and security issues, we are not very sure whether that's the way to go, but then private cloud is the way, is what we are looking at, and for the trading aspect. And other than that, of course, move anything else to the cloud, data, general market data, whatever, etc., all those framework, that's already, and we have already moved some of the applications to the cloud. As usual, data and cyber security is the biggest issue from our perspective. So that's also, so we need to figure out that how do we ensure this particular aspect in anything and everything that you do. Big data and analytics is important primarily from our perspective, and I link this to AI because there's amount of machine learning and also in terms of real-time surveillance. So we are talking of a real-time trading, margining, collateral management, all in all. Since everyone attended the Moscow Exchange presentation, so the way we have done is we have left the piece which Moscow Exchange is doing onto the broker. So broker does that risk management check, and once it comes to us, it's supposed to be a clean order. That's the way we have tried to tackle it. And the other reason for that was that traders were not happy with any latency. So it's just that when you give a high speed to traders, after that, putting a cost on them was not really working out. 20 years back, there was one of the exchanges in India, which is no more, OTCI, actually started work on that model, and it failed only because the traders were not able to get the trading efficiency. So it's good if it's possible in Moscow, but somehow that concept in India was not really workable, is the way we see it. E-commerce is another interesting aspect, and I guess I link it to mobile data, because in India the regulators have allowed mutual fund units to be also sold through e-commerce. So it's just a matter of time when you go and do your shopping, and you can also buy mutual fund units, you can buy shares. I guess everything is going to be allowed. That's the way. DLT, distributed ledger, is also a big buzzword. There is a lot of talk which is taking place. I think this requires a separate session in itself. We have assessed it. We feel there are bits which are important in this, but the problem here is that there are just too many issues, especially with the KYC. When we are talking of anonymous environments, it goes against the current framework of KYC, and you need to know the customer, you need to know who your counterparty is, etc., etc. So I guess there are many more regulatory issues rather than the application per se. The other aspect with DLT is that while it says that it's tamper-proof, we have had cases like Mt. Gox, where it's not easy. No one really knows what exactly happened. People say it's a fraud, but if who's committed the fraud, how could anyone commit such a fraud where 850,000 bitcoins just get lost? Now, those are issues. We have tried to find out answers to that. But as I said, this is an important technology which will be there. And the regulators at some stage, there are some like CFTC and BOE are more open to this as of now. The other regulators are not, certainly not the Asian regulators. And it does raise quite a few issues relating to open source models versus the model that is being propagated here. So, and finally coming to machine learning, from our perspective, a machine learning aspect is such which is important, and we are exploring this particular functionality, the functionalities as to, in certain areas, things like surveillance, things like data analytics, how can we use this from that perspective. Quickly speaking, this was us in 2009, single trading system, which is this, with, so integrated trading, clearing, etc. And then we moved out, we moved to a distributed architecture, brought down the round trip latency to less than 200 micros. We created several new applications. We moved to SQL instead of Oracle, and we built up huge capacity with respect to Hadoop, with respect to data warehouse, etc. And of course, we created a real-time disaster recovery site. So this is where we are today with different applications. So this is a single piece of risk management which looks at in totality across all segments. So which is equity, equity derivatives, and currency derivatives. And again, all this is real time. So this is effectively the trading system from where everything goes through. And then after that, all we have real time. People could do payments, the collateral management, the clearing, settlement, etc. Everything is possible. So from a testing philosophy, I'll quickly just take this. I mean, these are again, more theoretical. A few points which I thought I would specifically highlight. One is, in our case, while we have development testing, we have user UAT, you have quality assurance testing. In addition to that, we have something called the market-wide mock, which we allow participants, before we release any version to the market, the Saturday prior to that, we'll have a market-wide mock where everyone participates so that everything is tested by the market as well. And then after that, it's then released. From a testing environment perspective, standard again, development, UAT, simulation, which we provide to brokers 24/7. And we also have an internal lab, which is separate. And then we also provide an algo test lab on the cloud for everyone, so that again, from a broker perspective. Others are standard like stimulators and automated. So from a testing approach, I guess again, there's nothing much different except that we also use QA teams, etc. The only additional point could be that we do take their sign-off as well before anything is released. And since they use the agile methodology, it's faster because Asian regulators, at least the Indian regulators, they just want changes many times to be done in a week or a couple of weeks. So how do you do that? So such kind of agility can only be brought about by that. We do use automated applications, and I mean others are probably standard, I guess, across every other thing. And that's one of the reasons we've been, as I said, we were able to implement T7 within 6 months. Thank you. Questions?
Hello. Yeah. It's good. Can you hear me?
So by the way, I was in Morgan Stanley earlier, and I used the system that you created, which is giving us a lot of trouble now.
Oh my God.
No, because there's no one left, because he's left, so therefore.
So exchange in the box. How much of a stack do you place in a single? Do you really mean like a single server solution that provides the whole infrastructure in a single box? Is that what you had in mind, or?
Yeah. That's right.
So from trading through clearing to
no,
how much do?
I guess it's only the trading. From a trading perspective is what you're really looking. Because see, today, the biggest problem that we face in our architecture is the number of boxes. Because each time you have one box for a, so how do we do it? We've looked at processes, distributed processes on boxes. The moment you have one process on a box, you need to have a backup, real-time backup. So then you have to create a leader and a follower and those kind of things, those kind of protocols as well. And each of these processes finally does add to latency. The whole point was, I think I didn't mention that,
Yes,
from micros to nanos. How do we?
What's the so then what's the resiliency approach? So if that box fails, everything fails, right? So
No,
do you have two boxes?
That's right. That's right.
And your switchover happens within how soon? So if the box fails, you transfer the processing?
Today, it's all automated. Even so, today, for my each segment, well, I shouldn't say each segment, but at least in equities, I'll talk about equities. We have 40 boxes. Okay, that's a huge number. And these 40 include, so effectively there'll be 20 into 2, or probably some such number, 18 into 2 or whatever. And then certain set boxes. Today, everything is instantaneous. So each one box would certainly be defined as a leader. So the leader automatically switches over to the follower. Okay, and one of the big challenges that we face is that many times, because of especially over weekends, one fails, the other takes over, and then the previous one actually revives. So we have two, leader and leader.
And how do your clients switch over between the two in this
clients, this is all transparent.
They don't even know.
Clients, they don't even know.
Okay.
So in fact, so one interesting aspect for us is, even from between the primary side and the secondary side, clients just don't need to know. Clients log in, and everything is managed by us. So the philosophy that we have followed is, anytime, even when we change from the old to the new, with the Deutsche Börse application, nothing changes for the client. So we went with that philosophy, because if you have the clients to change, you'll have all the back office systems and every possible issue. How do you de-risk yourself from that? So only you change, and you try to accommodate everything as per the old format into the new application, and that's how we've worked on that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.